One, I'd like to call this Hammond Redevelopment Commission meeting to order on this Tuesday, June 6, 2017. It's now 4:32. Can you please stand? Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence after.
Commissioner Myers. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Myers. Roll call, please.
Soto Presley.
Here.
Kasperky.
Here.
Navejas. Myrick.
Here.
Hopperidge.
Here, for the record tonight, we have 4 present, 1 absent. Number 3, declaration of conflict of interest. Number 4 is our communications.
None were received.
Okay, number 5, minutes from May 16, 2017.
Mr. President, I make a motion to accept the minutes of May 16, 2017.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the minutes from May 16, 2017. Is there any corrections or additions on these minutes? If there is none, roll call.
Soto Presley.
Yes.
Kasperky.
Yes.
Navejas. Myrick.
Yes.
Hopperidge.
Yes. Motion passes. 4 yes, 1 absent. Okay, number 6, our homebound conditional forgivable loan approval. Quite a few applicants tonight.
Yes, we actually have 8 applicants present today. The first individual, number 1, Ola, he withdrew from the program. And number 4, Zachary and Jennifer, they were just running a little late. They called before I got up here. So if the applicants can please come up.
Please, and welcome.
Okay, good evening. Normally, we ask each individual, how did you hear about the program, but we're going to do it a little differently today. When I say, how did you hear about the program, it was your realtor or your agent, just raise your hand. Nobody? No agents?
No realtors?
Your realtor? Okay. And who's your realtor, may I ask?
Lorene Lemansky.
I've heard of her. I'm a realtor as well, so I like that.
What company is that? That's okay. You'll still qualify for the...
We won't tell her.
Yeah.
How many of you guys heard about this program through your lender? Oh, okay, 2. And who's your lender, ma'am? Michelle. Yeah, I know Michelle well. And who's your lender?
Same person.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have to call Michelle. Tell her.
Send her a thank you note. That's right.
And then the last question is for everyone. Are you all first-time home buyers?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
No, you covered it well,
That's it.
Commissioner Myrick.
Well, if there's no additional questions, I make a motion to approve the homebound conditional forgivable loan approval for the applicants that are here and for the 2 that's on their way, that we just approve it, and they'll either be here later or they'll come to another meeting.
I second that.
Okay, fair enough. We have a motion and a second for our homebound conditional forgivable loan approval for the applicants that are present tonight, along with the other 2 that are running late. And if they do not make it tonight, we ask they attend a future meeting. If there's no further questions, roll call, please.
Soto Presley.
Yes.
Kasperky.
Yes.
Navejas. Myrick.
Yes.
Hopperidge.
Yes, motion passes. 4 yes, 1 absent.
Congratulations.
Good luck.
Congratulations, yes. Good luck.
You may be excused if you like.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You're welcome.
Okay, number 7's a request for approval for United Neighborhoods, Inc. projects at 915 Merrill Street,
Mr.
7339 Rhode Island.
Mr. President, Commissioners, you should have received in your packet two agreements for the one for the property at 915 Merrill Street and the other one for 7339 Rhode Island. Basically, they're boilerplate agreements between Hammond Redevelopment Commission and United Neighborhoods, Inc. for the acquisition and rehab of each of those properties. Something that we've done just a little bit different is given you a more detailed budget, if you will, of the expenses for the property rather than just give you the approval for the acquisition and the rehab. We put the 20% contingency on that last page, as well as all the carrying costs that we expected to be involved with the properties in question. Both properties have been acquired within the last 60 days, and with the approval of the agreements, a bid package will be sent out to the contractors for abatement and for rehab, and within 30 days of that bid package, work contracts will be signed and work will begin.
And is there an estimate on a value upon completion, or do we, I know we can't.
It's just a ballpark. Each of those, the house on Merrill, probably 100,000, maybe, it's been off about 10% on everything, so say about
Give and take,
100%.
I'm just curious, yeah.
And the one in
Rhode Island, yeah.
Rhode Island in Haskell would be probably 5 to 10% higher. It's a larger lot, about the same size house, but a larger lot.
Just curious, yeah. Commissioners, no questions?
No question.
Mr. President, with no further questions, I move we approve the request for approval for United Neighborhoods, Inc. projects at 915 Merrill and 7339 Rhode Island.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the request for approval for United Neighborhoods, Inc. projects at 915 Merrill Street and 7339 Rhode Island. We have a roll call on that.
Soto Presley,
Yes.
Esbricky,
Yes.
Vejas, Myrick,
Yes.
Hopper.
Yes, motion passes, 4 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Welcome,
Yes.
Mr. Radowski.
Okay, number 8 is a ratification of release of a bid documents for the Hammond Sports Complex.
Mr. President, you'll remember back, I think it was 2 meetings ago, I'm trying to rack my memory, where we came in with the amended agreement for the Hammond Sports Complex, and we talked about it being bid out by the Redevelopment Commission in 4 phases. Due to the timing of how everything needed to go, the initial groundwork and getting mobilized so that the initial work could be done was the first bid package of four. Due to the timing of that, that needed to be published yesterday or out for publication yesterday as opposed to waiting till tomorrow. Otherwise, it would have been on your agenda to authorize us to go out to bid on that first package. There's a pre-bid meeting on June 12th, and we're looking for an initial bid opening of June 26th. And obviously, time is of the essence because we got to get this initial groundwork done before we can go on to the next bid package. So it's kind of a perfunctory act we're asking you today because we've already kind of done it. But we're asking that you ratify the fact that that first package, I mean, you technically did it when you approved it back I would just like it as a matter of record that, we understand that the first bid package went out, and we understand that on June 26th, they're gonna be open, and that's really why I asked Phil to put it on the agenda today.
Sounds fair to me. Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the ratification of release of bid documents for the Hammond Sportsplex.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, the ratification of release of bid documents for the Hammond Sports Complex. Is there any further questions for Attorney Westland? Okay, roll call.
Soto Presley,
Yes.
Kesbricki,
Yes.
Navejas, Myrick,
Yes.
Hopperidge.
Yes, motion passes, 4 yes, 1 absent. Okay, number 9 is approval of interlocal governmental agreement between the Hammond Redevelopment Commission and the Hammond Port Authority.
Commissioners, in your packet, you have a copy of the interlocal governmental agreement between the HRC and the HPA. This is the property just east of the Lost Marsh Golf Course. It's technically owned by Redevelopment Commission. However, it is managed by the Hammond Port Authority per an agreement that was put together many moons ago. We are at the phase now, and I think I've talked a little bit about this at Redevelopment, where we are prepared to start building homes on the east side of Lost Marsh Golf Course and also on New York Avenue. So we have this agreement, which is has the HPA and the HRC working together for the infrastructure improvements that need to be made to prepare this site for builders to come in, start purchasing lots, and constructing homes. So our part of this agreement, obviously, is $250,000, which we do have available. I believe the total cost is approximately $750,000, and the remaining money for this will be paid for by the Hammond Port Authority and potentially by the city of Hammond as well. Did you have a question?
This money is to purchase, we already own the property, right?
No. So we're going to build approximately 18 homes on the New York Avenue and obviously, as I mentioned, to the east of the Lost Marsh Golf Course. The property is owned by us. About 2 years ago, we did an RFP to look for, actually it might have been an RFQ actually, to look for home builders to start building at this site. Well, nobody responded. And the reason we found out that nobody responded is because if the infrastructure is not in place, meaning water, sanitary, stormwater is not in place, financially, it doesn't make sense for a builder to go in and build a home because it's too much money. So that's why we're taking the bull by the horns and doing this agreement, putting the infrastructure in place, including the street. We're making a lot of the utilities accessible to each of the lots. In fact, we had a meeting this morning making sure that we're putting everything in the right area that's going to put builders in the best position to construct homes there. And this is, again, a partnership deal between us and the HPA, and I believe the city of Hammond might put some money into it as well. But the Redevelopment Commission's portion would be $250,000.
So this is something like the Paris View?
It's very similar to Parish View. On New York Avenue, it's actually going to be townhomes. So this is one of the first times we've taken on that type of project. But the actual lots that are closest to the golf course, if not adjacent to, we're expecting much bigger homes. And we think we can actually get some some good investment on some homes that we don't have available in the city of Hammond right now. And obviously, being located on a golf course is attractive to a lot of folks as well. So we think we're expecting success here. We've already had several families that have reached out that have inquired about this. So we're excited to move forward with this. And I think what I had talked about at Redevelopment in the past is due to the success at Lincoln Lake, which we're about to build the final 5th house at that site, and Parish View, where I believe there's only so many lots left. I know Dennis could speak to that more than anybody else. We're ready to move on to other areas and start constructing homes and bringing new families in and offering houses that aren't available in Hammond right now. But once the infrastructure is in place and the lots are subdivided and created, we're expecting builders to come in and then, and/or families just purchase the lot outright through
Sure.
however we do it, whether it's an auction process or something along those lines, to come in and construct homes on their own. And obviously, there'll be some covenants in place to make sure that, you know, the homes are at least a minimum size and have certain requirements, facade requirements and things.
Why wouldn't, or a builder or investor or, I don't know, let's say they wanted to purchase a lot on New York Avenue and wanted to kind of compete with the Joneses on the Circle, is this the template, you know, in stone where they have to put up a duplex? Or, you know what I'm saying, like what if I want that lot, whatever on New York Avenue, and I want to build, you know, I want, you know, Greg and I are gonna build our castle.
Let's see, I would want my castle in the back.
The castles will be closer to the golf course, obviously. This is something we've sat down and put a lot of thought into, not just redevelopment, but and Port Authority, but other folks in the city of Hammond. And through what we've seen in Whiting and other areas, and not even just in Indiana alone, but other areas of the country, we feel like we have a need for a townhome type of product. And based on the size of land that we have, we thought we could actually make the property as efficient as possible by putting two townhomes side by side on the New York Avenue.
Well, no, I don't mean to question the thought process. I'm just saying, what if that builder said, I want this lot, and I don't want to do that?
I think the way we're setting it up, they will have to be part of the townhome project on New York Avenue.
Right.
But they will be able to build on, I believe it's the 6 other lots that are.
It looks like you have a road with a cul-de-sac where the house is.
That's correct. Yes. So I know what you're saying,
No, I just, you know,
Commissioner Kasperky, and I think that's part of the reason this is not our only new home construction subdivision that we're looking at. We're in the process of purchasing other property in other parts of the city where, you know, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for folks to buy and build a new single-family.
when I see Commissioner Dye here, I think he needs to know. He wants to know about these big properties.
Well, Commissioner Dye, his boat has sailed, you know, after that last action that you just took a little bit ago. But yeah, I agree with you. He's a prime example of somebody who wanted to build a new home in the city of Hammond and was looking for a location. And obviously, he's got a great site because Parish View has been extremely successful. But this is just going to be yet another opportunity.
Okay, that just came to my mind, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so if there are there any other questions or I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the interlocal governmental agreement between the Hammond Redevelopment Commission and the Hammond Port Authority.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval of the interlocal government agreement between the HRC and the Hammond PA. Can we have a roll call on that?
Soto Presley,
Yes.
Kasperky,
Yes.
Vejas, Myrick,
Yes.
Oppridge.
Yes, motion passes, 4 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Okay, number 10 is approval of listing agreement for 6433-49 Kennedy Avenue.
Commissioners, you have in your packet an exclusive listing agreement with Commercial Advantage of Maryville to list 6433-49 Kennedy Avenue, which is just off of 165th and Kennedy. It is the northeast corner of that address. This is what some people refer to as the old Brothers 2 property was there, and I know there was another bar there. I think it was Sebastian's or something. The Redevelopment Commission ended up purchasing the property. We knocked down the building, which had major issues with it. It's right across the street from Freddy's Steakhouse. A lot of people are familiar with Freddy's, so that's a good location to base off of. And we're ready to list the property. It's a larger size property in that if there was a franchise out there that was looking at a site in Hammond to potentially move to, on a corner lot. This property, I think, is very attractive for that. The reason we wanted to enter into the agreement with Commercial Advantage, they helped us on the Columbia Avenue property, which is the site just north of Menards that has been vacant for many, many years, longer than I've been with the city. And we put Commercial Advantage in there, and then all of a sudden, here we are, we're in the process of selling part of that property to Menards, and they are going to expand, and that's something that we approved, I believe, at our last meeting or the meeting before. So I think Lori Tubbs and her group did a great job, so we want to give them another opportunity at the site. You will notice in the where it lists the percentage for sales, we did break it up, because if there is only one broker working on this property, we thought 4% was a fair percentage, maybe even a little lower than what some other brokers might have requested. But if there are two brokers, then we would bump it up to 6%, so they're at least both getting 3%.
I noticed that, and that's an incentive for commercial to sell their own listing too.
Correct. And the other thing to keep in mind, anytime we list property, the reason we set these up and we put a sign up on the site is to really find out who's interested out there, to get it on the market, to get folks that aren't driving by, could find the information on the internet and other sources that they'll use for publication. Because in the end, once we have somebody who's interested, we still have to go through our normal RFP process. We have to obviously get the two appraisals, which we have in this case, and I believe, and I don't have them in front of me, but I believe the average of the two appraisals is somewhere around $273,000, somewhere in that range, so it's significant. And so once you have a user or somebody who's interested, you then go through the RFP process. Anybody is able to submit at that time. Hopefully you get multiple submissions, and then the Redevelopment Commission in the end will choose who we would like the highest and best use for that property and who we want to sell the property to. So, but the start of this is to have an agreement in place and get Commercial Advantage to start listing the property, get the information out there, and start drawing interest before we go to the RFP. Because if you just do the RFP, there are certain people that read the newspaper that will, that know to look for that, but there's a lot of groups that don't. So I think that's why it's good to have a broker on hand and list it and get the information out there before you go to RFP.
I understand having a broker. My initial question was why you used Advantage, but you explained that, so that's that. And this agreement doesn't have a suggested price, though, does it?
Right, that's what he was just saying.
What's that?
That's what he was just expounding on.
But you said you had the appraised value already set.
Yep.
We've got the average of two appraisals, and Commercial Advantage has a copy of both appraisals so they know. But technically, is there a listing price? I guess that's where it gets a little fuzzy, or the gray area, because we have to go through the RFP process in the end. She could tell the folks what the average of the two appraisals is, but when it comes down to it, we put out that RFP, we're going to be looking for who offers us the most money on the site. So yeah, I agree. And by the way, I also want to mention is that, yes, I thought Commercial Advantage would be a good company to use on this, and I actually reached out to Pete Novak, who's the head of Ganayer, and I know he deals a lot more with residential. And I said, hey, who do you think would be a good user? And Commercial Advantage came up, and it was right after they had done a great job with the Columbia Avenue site. But what I want to bring up is we do work with the other groups as well. We work with a lot of the other brokers, commercial brokers in the area. We've worked with Dennis Larson and other groups like that, and they do a good job as well. We used Cyrus, for example, on our property at Calumet Avenue. It used to be the Bull Era. So I do like to switch it up and not just use one broker, because using multiple brokers means they're going to get out to a lot of different folks that maybe they work with on a regular basis. So I think it really, really diversifies the process. And
Sure, everyone has a different network. No, I understand.
absolutely.
Mr. President, with no further questions, I move that we approve the listing agreement for 643-49 Kennedy Avenue.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval listing agreement for 6433-49 Kennedy Avenue. A roll call on that.
Soto Presley,
Yes.
Desbricki,
Yes.
Navejas, Myrick,
Yes.
Upridge.
Yes, motion passes, 4 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you, Commissioners.
You're welcome.
Number 11, determination of compliance with the plan for the downtown Hammond Urban Renewal District Number 1 for 31 Sibley for an urgent care facility.
Mr. President, the architect on this project has not arrived yet, so, and I noticed that we have a couple of homebound candidates that have arrived. I don't know if you want to go back and complete that process, and then I can go on, we can decide how to proceed on this.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Thank you, Brian. We will move back to number 6. I guess the 2 applicants showed up. They want to come forward. We appreciate you making every effort to come out. We already approved you, but if you just want to introduce yourself and
Hi, my name is Shavette Bass.
And who is the gentleman with you? I'm confused. Oh, okay, it's 3 people. Okay, we were confused for a second. Okay, well, Ms. Bass, since you're standing at the podium, how did you hear about our program?
I heard about your program through my agent.
Who's your agent, may I ask?
My agent is with Caldwell Banker. Her name is Mrs. Cookie Zelinsky.
Cookie?
Yes.
Yeah, see, I work with Cookie. We work in the same office. Are you
All right.
a first-time home buyer?
Yes.
Okay. And Zachary and Jennifer, how did you guys hear about our program? Through online research. Oh, through online research. Okay. Anyone else has any questions?
Nope.
Great.
So,
And I believe they've actually been approved already, right?
yeah,
Yes.
just I let them know we already approved you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming. Welcome to
Yes.
Hammond.
All right.
You may be excused.
Good
if
to
you
have
like.
you all as well.
Well, thank you.
yeah, I'll see Cookie tomorrow. I'll tell her I met you.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Sure. As I said, the architect has not arrived for this case, so I don't know how you want to proceed without someone to make the presentation. I mean, I can do it if that's what you prefer.
Yeah, I don't mind, Brian. You've worked very well.
Very knowledgeable man.
Yes.
You've
Okay.
given us a lot of information in the past, so
All right, so I get to wear 2 hats.
you have the honors.
That's
tonight.
right.
2 hats. All right.
You can do it. You can do it. You can
All right, all right. You know, so in your packet, you received the general explanation of the project. You received a floor plan, elevations of the building. It's an existing building located right next to the Strachan Van Teels. It's a paired building. They're symmetrical, and the project for the urgent care facility is in the east building. This was the location of the federal defenders. They vacated that building sometime.
Is that the one that was next to the bank?
Yeah, the bank is the other
Okay.
one, the federal, so.
They're not very
Oh,
old.
All right.
No, it's,
About 10 years old, maybe?
the building's from 2004.
Okay.
So, so anyway, it's the old federal defenders building. It's currently vacant. The applicant is proposing to put an urgent care facility in a portion of this building, kind of like the front half of it, so to speak. That's what the floor plan is representing. He's talking about somewhere around 2,750 square feet, 5 exam rooms, 2 procedure rooms, a lab, x-ray room, and other support services. The renovations are really on the inside of the building. They're not anticipating any changes to the exterior of the building other than changing the signage. And in particular, there's the common sign that's located between the 2 buildings, and then there was a sign on the east wall. So that's the project. Any questions about the project before I go on to the rest of my report?
Not me.
Did I read that this was going to, oh, okay, 45 construction jobs, okay.
Right, yes, yeah, 45.
And 15 to 25 permanent jobs
Correct,
in the
correct.
facility, okay.
Yeah.
Great, great, great.
Okay. We're good to go forward? Okay. So, in looking at this project for the urban renewal plan, the urban renewal plan divided the downtown area into these districts. This particular building falls in District B. District B is basically everything north of Sibley, west of Hammond, east of the state line, south of Willow Court. That's where District B is. And obviously the big anchor of District B is the Stratford Van Hills grocery store. So in that, the plan, the District B was supposed to be permitted uses of retail, business services, personal services, restaurants, parking, of course. It was intended to be designed and organized as a single shopping area, and they were really looking at making sure we have that visibility on Sibley Street and State Line Avenue, and then, of course, have a strong interconnection to Holman Avenue. One of the other things in the urban renewal plan, it established a District C. District C is basically the blocks around the St. Margaret's Hospital, whatever it's currently called, Franciscan Alliance, something or other. And that was defined as a medical center district. So the intent of that district was to develop, support, help grow the hospital, have all those support ancillary medical services there. To create what was to be a medical complex. So now we're talking about having a medical facility in a different area than what the plan proposed. So if you look at my report and I talk about the analysis and the recommendation, I want to make sure we have clear in the record that the building on two buildings on Sibley Street, when they were originally approved in 2004, and then in 2007, when the Harris Bank went in and the building was modified for the drive-through, that the Redevelopment Commission had already made a determination that those two buildings, as constructed, were compliant with the redevelopment plan. And so this project, as I said, does not affect the architecture of that building, and so therefore there's nothing that's really undermining that portion of the determination of compliance. The question becomes the uses of the building. So you've got this language in the redevelopment plan that is somewhat in conflict as to allowing this to be a medical use. Then I look at the zoning ordinance. In the zoning ordinance, clearly there's medical uses are allowed throughout the C3 Central Business District. There's no conflict from a zoning standpoint to have a medical use at this location. So in looking at this, obviously when the plan was written in the 1990s, there was a different thought process of how medical services were delivered to the community, to the residents. And again, at that time, which is reflected in the plan, medical services were thought of as being concentrated in a single geographic area, kind of a one-stop shopping, you go there. Through the evolution of the medical world, Obamacare, all these types of things, we want to go out and have medical facilities distributed into the community to get access to maybe disadvantaged people, seniors, whatever, just make it a little bit more convenient rather than forcing people to come to a centralized, oftentimes confusing, complex, if you go to community center, or community hospital, I find community hospital extremely confusing with all those little buildings around it. So this is, the new idea is to spread things out. In the redevelopment plan, it talks about that business services and personal services are allowed in that District B. A medical clinic is not technically one of those. It's not, at least not as were traditionally defined at the thought process that was going on in the 1990s. But to allow a medical clinic at this location and kind of augmenting or modifying that definition of business service, personal service, that wouldn't, I don't think that would adversely affect the Redevelopment Commission from making a determination of compliance. It's just kind of rethinking the definitions that were contemplated in the 90s because of the evolution of the medical facilities, how we think of medical facilities. So in doing that, I would say that staff recommends that the redevelopment commission make a determination that the proposed use is generally in compliance with the plan and the use is allowed at this location, subject to the normal city permit review process. Make sense?
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm real impressed with this, but I was looking at the rest of the area that isn't going to be occupied. So what are the future plans of that area?
He did not have an answer for me. As an architect, he was only hired to do this project. He did not know anything about the rest of the building.
So then the other area that's left then can also be for business or personal use?
Or retail, commercial,
retail.
office, it could be anything like that.
So right now, the present owner is selling it or has an investor or whatever the case might be, and it's just whether or not we're compliant, as you use the term generally compliant.
Yes, yeah, it's,
So,
yeah.
I mean, we're not involved in the project per se, other than saying it's okay to do.
Exactly, because, I mean, part of and I don't want to necessarily belabor this point, but it's because of this conflict in the language of, if you literally interpret the redevelopment plan, there's a bit of a conflict. So it is part of what your determination of compliance is doing is interpreting the plan a little bit more liberally to accept this, because there's nothing inherently flawed with this project. There's nothing wrong with this at this location. It's just the words technically.
Verbiage back. in the day.
Yeah.
Wow.
I personally have had good experience with these type of facilities.
Yeah.
But that has nothing to do with anything, and I mean, I would say I have no problem with it. Should we refer to is this an attorney question, or is this just for, like, our discussion? I mean, I don't have a problem with the concept at all, but.
No.
So I don't want to throw it over there, but I'm kind of on the fence here.
Specifically with regard to what?
The term, I guess, generally compliant. I mean, I can make a motion to say we're generally compliant, but is that the right,
Well, I have used that generally compliant term in previous reports, and you had no issue with it.
Yeah, ultimately, it's to this is the body that approved the plan to begin with. So you guys and it wasn't you guys because it was years and years ago. But this body gets to say what the plan is, and quite frankly, what has happened is that prior to Brian and the staff being able to alter the plan to provide for advancement in the way people seek their medical care and other things, we just haven't amended the plan in a while. When was the last time we amended this plan?
1995.
1995. So technically, should we be amending the plan at some point here in the not-too-distant future? Yes, but I don't, Brian ran his report past me last week, wasn't it? I think it was last week. And he and I certainly debated this very topic. You guys get to determine what the plan is. You get to determine what complies with the plan and what doesn't. If you're not thrilled with the word generally, then just move that it's compliant. The other alternative is, and then we have a timing issue, is that we could amend the plan.
Do we four have the authority to determine it compliant?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolute authority.
Anybody, any questions?
So I just want to go back to what you stated, so I can say so moved, so we can keep going.
Well, I have a question before you do that, Commissioner Myrick. So our attorney said the difference is we can decide if it's generally compliant or just compliant.
Or non-compliant.
Or so, okay.
Those are we have to appreciate the fact that Brian's trying to be intellectually honest with us. And that's why the word generally is in there. At the end of the day, you guys determine what the plan is, and you guys determine whether it's compliant or not.
Rick?
Because of the verbiage from 1995.
That's correct.
So we're going to go back to your explanation. I'm going to say so moved, and we're going to.
Well, this opens it up too to more possibilities.
That's right, and I do think, honestly think that in the next not-too-distant future, that this plan does need to be amended. But there's a process to doing that, and it takes time and thought, and that's not going to be something that'd be presented to you next month. So
Steps.
I think it fits.
I would have preferred, and I think I argued with Brian, that it was compliant, okay? And I came up with a bunch of reasons, and he wanted, you know, it's his report, it's not my report, and he felt more comfortable with generally compliant, so that's why you got generally compliant. I feel it is compliant.
Well, correct me too.
But you got, at the end of the day, his report and his opinion and my opinion,
And
not enough
also,
to
we're
be.
accepting his report, so.
Right.
Is there a dialysis
We'll do it.
in the Walgreens old building too?
I
I believe there is.
believe there was one that was supposed to move in. I don't know that that's happened yet. But that's the other part of what you're bringing up is we're all familiar with downtown Hammond, and obviously there's a plan in place, and yes, you're making that determination from the plan. But I guess if there's any question in your head, whether it's generally or completely compliant, you think to yourself, common sense. Does this facility fit where it's moving into, knowing that location? And I think we all know the answer to that.
So I'm thinking in my head that if it's generally compliant, then that would mean that at some point in the near future, we have to revisit it, right?
Revisit the
Plan itself.
The plan itself, yes.
Uh-huh.
Not so much this specific project, but we do need to, you know, I basically stated the plan's out of date because of this subject matter, and I think, yes, we would need to rewrite the report, or the plan, excuse me.
And let me just give you an absurd hypothetical of why I think it's compliant. Number one, I do think I would go further than I would say it is compliant. But let's say you had a project that somebody came in here, walked through the door in the next 30 seconds and said, I have this great plan for downtown Hammond. And by the strict reading of a document that is now over 20 years old, it doesn't match. But this developer wants to put a $10 million investment into downtown Hammond. And are you really going to, and it's not a strip joint or something that you obviously wouldn't like, right? It's a regular retail or commercial, right? Well, all right, Mr. Kasperky aside, right? So would you really tell that developer in downtown Hammond, I don't want your investment and I don't want, you know, I mean, this is something that is,
I think my question prompted a whole lot more discussion. I think if I would ask the question originally, like I later did, do we have that authority?
Yes.
Then
So basically, we're agreeing with Brian's report. Okay.
It's always good to agree with Brian. I mean, I argued with him for about a half an hour and I couldn't sway him, so.
So can I just say so moved? Do I need to state what we're doing? I mean, I'm lost.
Brian, if you could, read how you would
Read-
like this.
Yeah,
Read my recommendation?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, staff recommends that the redevelopment commission make a determination that the proposed use is generally in compliance with the plan and the use is allowed at this location, subject to the normal city permit review process.
So moved.
second.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the determination compliance with the plan for downtown Hammond Urban Renewal District number 1 for 31 Sibley for the urgent care facility. Is there any further questions or discussion?
Good job, Mr. Poland.
And thank you, Attorney Westland, for your clarification on that as well. Okay, then roll call.
Soto Presley?
Yes.
Kasperky?
Yes.
Navejas? Myrick?
Yes.
Hopperidge?
Yes, motion passes. 4 yes, 1 absent.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, number 12, reports. Bill Taylor, would you like to share anything tonight?
Yes. I just have one item. I just want to publicly acknowledge that somebody who has retired at the beginning of this month, some of you are probably aware already, but Sue Anderson, who has been an integral part of the Hammond Development Corporation, not to mention so many other things in downtown Hammond. She was technically a consultant at the end of her time with the city and the HDC, but she's been with the city for many, many years, many more than me. She's done a lot of great things in the city of Hammond, not just downtown, but beyond that. She's worked with, I couldn't imagine how many businesses on business plans that have helped them grow their business in Hammond and beyond. And, you know, we lost a good person with her retirement in the city. I know she'll be close by, and if we really need her, we could probably lure her to downtown every once in a while to help us out. But I just want to publicly thank Sue Anderson for her years of work and service and her great job and going above and beyond all that was expected of her with the HDC and beyond. So that's all I have.
Okay. I guess Ms. Miller left, so we will move to number 13, bills.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to pay the Register of Claims for May 12th, 2017 through June 2nd, 2017. Register of Claims R54788 through R54856.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Okay, motion and a second for the Register of Claims, May 12th, 2017 through June 2nd, 2017. Claims R54788 through claim R54856. Is there any question or discussion on these claims? Okay, roll call on the claims.
Soto Presley?
Yes.
Espricky?
Yes.
Vejas? Myrick?
Yes.
Poppers?
Yes. Motion passes 4 yes, 1 absent. Number 14, new and unfinished business. Okay, number 15, public comment. Anyone would like to come forward? You got 3 minutes. Okay, public comment closed. Number 16.
Mr. President, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can you all signify by aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.